and the development contributions separately.
And the climate change all in one.
All in one.
all in
Right,
one.
okay, fine.
This is Richmond residents.
How do we start the presentation for you?
Yes, please. Oh, sorry. Right.
There it is.
While Vicky's sorting that, thank you for the opportunity to present on the submissions of the long-term plan, the climate strategy, change strategy, and the development contribution policies for 2021. In presenting these submissions, I think the Richmond Residents and Business Association is bringing before the Council a lot of issues that we feel need addressing in the Richmond area and in the wider areas as well. The range of topics covered in the submission, or the three submissions, reflect the association's energies, its community interest and the interest of the community in the association, and its a holistic approach and vision in working towards making Richmond a better place. And we plan to go through the slides, so I'll let Vicki start that process.
Thanks. Hi. So our first slide here, as a community, we're excited to see the Medway Footbridge finally being built. We wish to continue collaborative consultation regarding the traffic and pedestrian movement in that area. We'd also like to ensure that the landscaping and ongoing maintenance are included in this LTP. It'd be really a huge shame to get this lovely bridge built and there's no landscaping or maintenance of that landscaping in the plan. Parks and reserves. We have few parks and reserves in the Richmond area. Most of them are long overdue for a full refurbishment. We ask the council to evenly spread funding and progress on refurbishments. We want the Patridge Park would like some funding to collaborate with our community in regards to improving this amenity. The Richmond Park needs a full refurbishment of the old equipment. The Richmond Village Green needs more maintenance on the hedge and additional planting in that park area. Avebury Park, we're still waiting for the council to come and respond to us from consultation that they did in October 2020. And the Dudley's Creek roadside gardens and reserves, they need to be contracted on regular maintenance. As residents, we find that we're continually steps in solving gardens that are severely overgrown and can't understand why the council are not maintaining the assets that they've got there. On the pictures, we've got a couple of examples that have been snaps in sold recently. We also noticed that there's a huge inequity in funding of parks investment in the Christchurch area, and we think that it's simply unacceptable. For the Shirley Reserve, we believe there are more than enough community accessible venues in the Richmond area. We've got Avebury House, the Richmond Club, the Delta Community Trust, the McFarlane Park Centre, there's the Shirley Primary, the Shirley Intermediate, the Richmond Cottage, just to name a few of them. The Shirley Reserve should be retained as a reserve and an amenity added to resource to beautify the park area, making the park a bigger play area, refurbishing that basketball court, creating more community gardens and areas for picnicking and food forestation. There's an opportunity to install a bigger permanent skate pump track, which is what the locals wanted from the start. Look at the great examples that have been delivered throughout Christchurch, the Hornby Skate Park or the Central City pump track. Instead, we've got a temporary pump track. For a similar cost, this could have been built as a permanent structure by a local business instead of being outsourced overseas. Just on Shirley Reserve, there's 10 Shirley Road, small group of people that are looking for a community centre there. They've had a petition going for over 2 years and have only just reached 600 signatures on their online petition for an area that's, 50,000 people more. There's been another petition going for a liquor licence ban or a liquor ban in the Stanwell Road area for 8 days, and we've received 200 signatures on that so far. The council have also commissioned 2 reports to say that it's not feasible to put a community centre at that area. The floodplains and water supply. The Richmond Residents and Business Association would like to continue to be consulted in regards to the Avon Floodplain Management Plan. Our suburb sits on the edge of the Avon River from Fitzgerald Avenue to Banks Avenue, and it's an important aspect to all of our residents. We would also like to be kept informed about the water supply and reticulation scheme regarding water supply in our area and the progress of the well work being done to bring them to a safe level for the public. Crime camera installation. We urge the council to look into crime prevention cameras in specific locations that we've identified throughout our suburb. They're continually experiencing fly tipping. This is costing all of the ratepayers and polluting our streets and local river system through close proximity dumping to the stormwater drains. The areas that we've identified are Banks Ave, River Row Corner, Medway Street, River Row Corner, and Swans Road, River Row Corner. There's already one in North Parade. Last year, it costed an estimated $600,000 for the council to remove and correctly dispose of fly tipping rubbish within the Christchurch area, and prevention and enforcement it must start. The Otakaro Avon River Corridor. The OARC traverses the length of Richmond. It's an important recreational space in the most activated part of the whole corridor due to the work of volunteers who predominantly live in the Richmond area. The $336 million allocated to the OARC is well short of the $700 million promised after the global settlement. The fact that any money allocation to the Red Zone Regeneration Parks development is not until 2024 suggests that the council does not seriously regard the regeneration and the importance of the project to the city, nor to the community who are still recovering from the 2010 earthquakes. We want to see this funding reallocated so that it starts in 2021. I do understand that there's now some work happening in a governance model, so we do want to make sure that includes the council, the community and the iwi, and it needs to be really clear in regards to who those senior managers are and the role that they're going to play over the guardianship of the vision.
Greg.
I'm going to pass over to Greg to carry on now. Thank you.
So roading speed reduction in the cycleway, we fully support Better Safer Road submissions. We will be talking in more depth regarding the following items. That's maintaining the roading upgrade timeframes and repairs, speed reductions to 40 kilometres for a majority of Richmond area, a community-driven safe cycleway through Richmond from Fitzroy Avenue through North Parade. That's including the existing cycleway along North Parade past where Shirley Boys High School was, connecting with the quieter side streets of the suburb rather than using the main thoroughfares, which obviously are more dangerous and occupied by heavy vehicles and more traffic. Stanmore Road rejuvenation. It's great to see the huge development and plan for Stanmore Road along in the Linwood Village area at the south end of Stanmore Road. As a committee, we question why this Greening the East initiative has only been seen to fruition by the Community Board for such a small segment of Stanmore Road and not been created to extend the full length of the retail precinct along the road itself. Michelle Lomax, chairperson of the working group, says, while we live in the city, it's vital that we improve our breathing space and everyday living by enhancing and expanding our green space. Greater green infrastructure in our local neighbourhoods is core to this plan. Yet there is no plan from the same community board, to help with creating better amenity in the eastern areas of their ward. This is short-sighted and disappointing from our perspective when plans were written and scrapped in the past, and when we have actively engaged community groups and a community screaming out for better enhancement of the well overdue capital spending in the Richmond area. We urge the council to release more funding to bring this plan to fruition for the entirety of Stanmore Road and the Richmond area that has been neglected and underfunded by council and community boards for far too long. The RRBA continues to express concern about the significant intensive development in our suburb regarding housing over the last 2 years, much of which the existing community considered inappropriate and significantly detrimental to the existing amenity of our community. We know that housing intensification is going to happen, but it needs to be sensible, it needs to be well designed, and it shouldn't be over and above the caps. We're interested in how the development contributions monetary value is collected and the allocation of funds in respects of projects such as sports parks, garden and heritage parks, neighbourhood parks such as the Richmond Village Green, Avery Park, Petrie Park, Richmond Park, reserves such as the Shirley Reserve, the Dudley Creek, and also the roadside gardens already mentioned, the Avon Otakaro River Corridor, the water supply infrastructure itself, wastewater collection, the road network where damage is being caused by these new developments and the increase in traffic, and also the stormwater flood protection, and most importantly, the green infrastructure that has not been implemented throughout our suburb. We have seen little, if any, investment in any of these areas, yet a huge influx of housing intensification. So where is all the money collected from the development contributions being spent by the City Council? Parks, public facilities and infrastructure are well utilised throughout the city. Ongoing investment is required to ensure that they are all well maintained, to ensure that they are able to service the requirements and growth demand pressures of increased housing intensification. Development contributions should therefore be channeled directly back into these areas experiencing increased housing density to ensure that those demands are met and to provide additional infrastructure, not siphoned off elsewhere. District plan rules in the residential medium density zones determine that intensification of over 65 households per hectare is a non-complying activity, which must be notified, therefore giving ratepayers, the public, the legally binding right to object to the non-compliant elements of the developer's resource consent applications. Yet this is repeatedly being ignored. In our opinion, at the coalface, this is far from acceptable and needs to change. Local and central government bureaucracy is not meeting the well-being needs of existing residents. Christchurch rates are continuing to increase, yet funds are being rebated back to developers who are clearly getting rich at the expense of the public purse. If developers are not paying DCs in the central city, where is the money coming from now and into the future to create and add to the amenity and to improve an ageing and overstretched infrastructure? Is it coming out of an already overstretched money pot? Speaking to that, the council currently spends, I believe it's $50 million a year. If you're not collecting $50 million a year, where are you going to find that money from?
Okay, moving on to climate change. We agree wholeheartedly with the goals and the principles laid out in the climate change strategy, but I think the previous speaker made a point. Let's act on it now. We don't want to see a plan drawn up, lots of consultation, and then the plan put in the cupboard. We're doing little things in Richmond which together make quite an impact in the climate change area in the way we're working, particularly around the Otakaro River. Partnerships are key. We're willing to be a partner. Collaboration is key. We want to collaborate with the people who are putting this plan into action. We have a role already in 10 different programs that are related to climate change activities. The Otakaro Avon River community, the community-led planting programs, the safe cycleways proposals, the speed reduction on the inner suburb streets, the Te Ara Trail, a food security plan, new housing programs and community collaboration. These are all expanded in our full submission. If we want this working climate change strategy document to become embedded in our culture, we have to start behaving as if we believe in it. We want to work together collaboratively with the council in all that we do. We realise very early on that we don't know everything. We have our dreams. We want to work with the community boards to create a suburb that uses our ideas, our skills, our talents, where we can all participate towards planning a final outcome that is valued by all. Anything to it?
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Jake?
Yeah, thank you for that. And actually, just finishing on those last words, have you? I totally appreciate the need, and it would be great to see that greening the east, or probably not an expanded plan, but a different plan. Have you? I assume I'm stating the obvious. Have you thought about coming along to the community board? Obviously, I would support it. I'm sure our board chair would support it as well.
So we have Alex coming along to our community meetings regularly, and she advised last time that it's something that will progressively go down the length of Stanmore Road. So I assume that it's in your guys' planning at some stage there anyway to look to actually.
No, incorrect. But I think you should come along to the community board and really state that really clearly, because it's much more appropriate to be stated there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Yanni?
I respectfully disagree with my colleague.
Hey. We're not here for that.
So,
We're here for the LTP.
Just in terms of the Greening the East project, in terms of your submission, would you like council to put a project that would enhance the amenity of Stanmore Road, Green Stanmore Road, basically?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Richmond Village is becoming a serious point of conflict within the district. We have the situation just over the last few days where one person has had to close their shop. So that's one of the aspects that comes into the whole Richmond Village, Stanmore Road problem.
Right.
And we want to act quite urgently on it to address it and Just have that.
How much? I guess what I was.
So is that the amenity of that area that you're talking about? Yeah.
How much of it is the land use planning decisions around what's allowed versus putting in more green infrastructure like cycleways and trees?
Well, I think it's a multitude of things. One of the issues one of the things we don't want to get into is just picking off little bits, because there's a ripple effect in everything you do. So we want to look at all those issues.
Needs to be a helicopter perspective rather than just a microscope perspective.
So, like going back to Richmond Village, there's landscaping, there's managing behaviours, there's the look of the whole street, the traffic control.
There was a Richmond neighbourhood improvement plan. Have you looked at that and seen if any of that's worth picking up again, or would you like us just to start fresh?
We've looked at lots of plans that have been written by the council going back to 1970 something.
Yeah.
That included the Avon River and like doing a terraces effect, with the steps down to the river and punting a possibility off the riverbanks. And it's all just, we've seen reports that have been written that just sit on a shelf somewhere in council somewhere that don't get to fruition.
I'll put the questions into the chief executive around the previous issue.
I think what I'm hearing is the desire for a sort of, and I'm not going to say the word master plan because I'll have to take action against myself for saying it. But you need a sort of a joined up approach around a range of agencies. It's actually not just the council you're talking about. When you're talking about behaviours and various other things, it's a very joined up approach. But what I'm hearing from you is a neighbourhood and business association that's really keen to work collaboratively with us to make that happen.
If I could use the approach we've used very successfully with the council over the North Richmond Road Repair Program. We have had several meetings over nearly 3 years now where we've sat around the table, thrown around our ideas. Your people in the specialist departments in the council have come back with what's possible, what's not, etc., etc. We've modified, but ultimately the program is happening and we're past the halfway point, as we'll point out in our Better Road submission.
Thank you very much. Look, thank you for your presentation today. I think that's given us a good direction as to where to go. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for allowing the time.